For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome everybody to episode 3 of the Dunmarks podcast. And man, has it been a very interesting week in the world of professional sports, wrestling, current events, everything under the sun. We sit here as we record on this cool, crisp fall day in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
It's not fall yet.
Well, in my house it's been fall. It's been fall since September 1st when I always decorated the house in orange and yellow, okay? It's been orange and yellow in my house for 19 days. So technically it's fall. Pumpkin spice lattes are out. Today's the first day, women are going to have on their Ugg boots and vests, going to Starbucks for their pumpkin spice lattes.
Han Solo season.
Yeah, Han Solo's, Jesus, man. Unreal, right? Unreal. My wife's already telling me that Christmas movies are going to start on Hallmark and Lifetime on October 23rd.
Oh.
So.
It's too soon.
Way too soon, right? Way too soon. Christmas decorations are out.
Yeah.
Okay? It's ridiculous. We're called a crisp, cool fall day in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, getting ready to drop another episode for you guys. So we appreciate you following along with us and listening in here week to week. We got the train going the last 2 weeks. I feel like we got a good rhythm with the show. Hope everybody's enjoying it. Again, leave comments. Rate, review, subscribe on all platforms. We greatly appreciate it. And we're excited to get back on the mic this week and talk some pro wrestling, some pro sports, and other current events. I feel it would be un-American of us not to at least speak on the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, passed away last night at the age of 87. True American icon, hero. There's not a lot of words that can even put into, a clear picture of what she's meant to women and just America as a whole. She's greatly missed. A lot of posts on social media and sadness going around. 2020 just doesn't let up, does it?
And 27 years on the Supreme Court's an incredible feat. I mean, she has done so much for this country in our history books that R.I.P. RBG.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot to go into. My favorite, my favorite answer that Ruth Bader Ginsburg ever gave was she was asked one time when there will be enough women on the Supreme Court, and to that she said, when there are 9. People were shocked by that response, but there'd be 9 men and nobody ever raised a question about that. So,
absolutely
valid point. Great humanitarian, great individual, great person. Definitely served her country and the people, and was constantly fighting. So, I know we've come a ways with certain issues and equality for women and minorities, but a loud voice that will be missed for sure.
Yeah, just gotta have to keep fighting on. Hopefully, the next person that goes in, they won't replace her, but hopefully they can carry her legacy on.
Absolutely. So with that, again, condolences to her family and rest in peace. And we're very fortunate to have been around for such an individual. We're too young to have been around for people like Martin Luther King and other activists and that. And, we're seeing a lot of activists step forward now, given the times, but glad to have been around and to be able to get a piece of that person's ability to affect so many on such a level.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting time that we're living in this country, and I think that, I think in a few years we'll definitely be referencing others the way that we reference RBG right now.
Absolutely. So with that, Again, condolences, rest in peace, and enough with the sad stuff. Let's get this podcast rolling with the upbeat, engaging talk that you guys come to listen to us for. And Chris, go ahead and give the rundown of the show for this week.
All right, this week we got for you in Bell to Bell, the week of professional wrestling. We're going to cover NWA, NXT, AEW. We'll also have our Drink of the Week segment, and then we'll wrap things up with This Week in Sports.
All right, here's to it. Let's get at it, and let's get on with the show.
Steve, we had a really busy week in professional wrestling. Started the week with NWA, Impact, NXT and AEW returned both to their normal time slot on Wednesday nights. NXT UK returned on Thursday, and then, of course, Raw and SmackDown on Monday and Friday.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pro wrestling this week. Something was on pretty much every day of the week except for Thursday, I believe.
NXT UK.
Okay. So yeah, it was definitely a jam-packed week of professional wrestling. So what caught your eye with everything that went on this week?
The one thing that I really wanted to put my eyes on this week, there was actually two shows, NWA and NXT UK, that I wanted to watch. More so the NWA first because, they were really hyping up this United Wrestling Network Prime Time Live on Tuesday nights. If you're not familiar with it, it's every Tuesday going to be on pay-per-view and Fight app. It's only $8 a week for 90 minutes. But they were also running a special for the first 4 weeks that you could get everything for $24, which took it down to $6 an episode. We covered that a little bit last week. But, I think it's, for a solid 90-minute show, $8 isn't a lot to ask.
No, not at all.
I mean, back in the day, TNA ran 2 hours for $10 a week. So, this week I really wanted to check it out just to see, what they were going to provide. Because NWA Power, they've been putting on YouTube whenever they were running that. And, it was a pretty solid show, 60 minutes action-packed, covered a lot of action every week, So this week, NWA started out with an interview segment, and then they had 3 total title matches on the card.
Okay.
But 7 matches total in 90 minutes.
I think it's like a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was a little heavy.
Yeah, I mean, it planned out that way too, right?
Yeah.
So like, the show ran long. Aldis and Bennett for the main event got 9 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a rush to the finish for them. No entrances, none of that. We've seen this before where, All In, the very first All In show ran by Cody and the Bucks, and that it went long.
Yeah.
The main event, you didn't see entrances. The Bucks were running down the 6-man tag there at the main event for All In. That went long. I believe they had like 11 or 12 minutes. They got the 1, 2, 3 literally with 30 seconds left of airtime on the pay-per-view. So if you haven't done this type of show before, which NWA has not, obviously they ran into some issues timing out the show. Segments went longer than what they should have. And at the end, it led to a shortened main event, which from everything that I've seen was solid because it was nonstop action. However, the match could have been better if given the proper time.
Yeah, it was solid. Unfortunately, like Nick Aldis being the NWA champion, and they're kind of hyping him up with that old Ric Flair adage of the real world's champion. But he didn't get an entrance. He just walked down. He didn't get introduced or theme music, where Mike Bennett got both of those. So it was a little weird seeing that. But, all in all, I thought the match was solid. It did feel a little rushed. I think they were just trying to get like the big spots in that they thought were going to carry the match. There was like a little bit, there was a early segment, I think like barely a minute into the match, the ref got knocked out, and it just seemed very early to do that. They did a bit outside, and which led to Camille coming back out to protect Nick Aldis, from Maria. And other than that, the match didn't have that much of a flow, and I'm going to attribute it just being rushed. But the thing that just got away from me at the ending, which I didn't like the ending, was that for being a shortened match, I felt like they should have just let it go to set up a rematch down the road. And they still might do that, but at the same time, does Mike Bennett deserve a rematch whenever he lost clean?
Yeah, I don't know what you do with that. It'll be interesting to see how they book these set of 4 shows, whether or not each show is going to be independent of each other, or they're going to have maybe storylines that run through that sets up shows or sets up matches further on down the line. I don't know what yet to expect or see from them with these shows, so it'll be interesting going forward. First time out the gate, not a home run. Whether or not that hurts them, I don't know. We'll see coming up here with the next couple of shows and see how they do with views in that and buys. If you bought just a singular event this past Tuesday, maybe you don't go back next Tuesday because of the issues with the stream cutting in and out, with the timing of the show, shortened matches at the end. We'll see. So not necessarily a home run out the park for the NWA, but I feel as they go on with these shows, they'll get the timing down and it will be a smoother show to watch from start to finish.
Yeah. The match I think that really gave the timing issues of the whole NWA show this week was the women's match with Camille. It was great to see her have a match on NWA because on Power she really was just the muscle. But I felt like this week she got to shine a little bit and show like what her true wrestling ability can be. I think at some point she's going to be a contender for a title. I think Thunder Rosa really needs to have eyes in the back of her head because I think that that could be the title that she goes after. It's the most logical, but I think that she can go after any title. It doesn't necessarily need to be the women's championship.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring up Thunder Rosa. She's been absolutely crushing it on AEW with her matches, and this week she had another strong performance out the gate with Ivelisse that apparently turned into a little bit of a shoot fight. As you know, I've read, on Cage Side Seats and other areas where, apparently it got real. Whether who was to blame for it or at what point in the match it turned into a shoot fight. They were able to finish the match itself and come away with a victor. So I didn't notice it watching it that it turned into a shoot fight at whatever point during the match. But it was interesting to read that things got a little heated in the ring between those two ladies for sure.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to rewatch it. I'd like to do that sometime this weekend because I don't know where it turned into that either. It definitely didn't give me the appearance that it turned into a shoot. But I think both of them are. I think Thunder Rosa's only been around for 5 years. I think I heard them say this week. But Ivelisse is a pro. She's been around a bunch of different promotions, so I think they both know what they're doing. And if that's the style that they like, I don't know if it was that necessarily that it was the style they wanted to go for the match, or if it was something that happened in the match and they just got some heat with one another and decided to throw some real punches. But I think that the whole women's division right now in AEW is picking up because of Shida and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, and Thunder Rosa is kind of on a per date appearance wise with AEW, not under contract with them. Again, she's with the NWA. Shida rolls into the ring after the match to help out the NWA's champion, which sets up the tag team match this week for Shida and Thunder Rosa against Ivelisse and Diamante, which again, anytime you have the caliber of Thunder Rosa or Ivelisse or Shida, even Diamante, you have a chance for the women to steal the show with those caliber of wrestlers in the ring. So I'm looking forward to that match on this coming up week edition of Dynamite. I know we ran into the main event issues with the NWA. The main event segment at AEW this week, the parking lot brawl, probably the best street fight that I've seen.
I agree.
And as far as a brawl goes, I would compare it to Goldust and Piper at WrestleMania.
The backlot brawl.
The backlot brawl. It was unbelievable, the things that they were able to do during that match. The physicality, the intensity. Definitely a very strong main event from those 4 individuals.
I agree. The one thing that I was worried about with this match was, as much as they were hyping it up and it being the main event of the evening, I thought it was going to be a cinema match. And I'm glad it wasn't that. They just did a typical, street fight match, just put it in the parking lot, and that was it. I really liked that. I think Tony Khan said that it was done all in one take. They didn't split it up at all like they do for the cinema matches.
Right.
So I thought that was another great quality of the match.
JR's come out and said it's the best street fight he's ever called.
Yeah.
Mick Foley,
yeah.
right after the main event, tweeted out, a 2-minute talking segment promo himself, putting it over, tweeting it. So, absolutely rave reviews from the main event segment of Dynamite this week.
I know you usually listen to Busted Open. I heard that they did a segment with those guys this week. Did you get a chance to listen to that?
I did not get a chance to listen to it. That was on my list of to-do things this week. I definitely want to go back and hear their takes on it.
Yeah, because it looked like Bully was pretty impressed with it as well.
I would imagine he would be, with the praise from the wrestlers themselves that have come out and talked about it. I would think Bully Ray would be on board with that type of match and what those guys were able to do in the main event segment. AEW strong main event segment. NXT strong main event segment. Raw, not so much. Not so much at all. Like, it's unbelievable how bad it comes across. You have this thread throughout the show of Keith Lee is now challenging Drew McIntyre. If he wins, he'll fight the champion at Clash of Champions as long as Randy Orton's not medically cleared to fight at the Clash of Champions in this ambulance match. And then you end it by bringing in Retribution? Really? Retribution. This group does nothing for me. It's been a waste of time. They're over. It's completely irrelevant to me. There's nothing that they can do that will get me on board with them. They don't attack when they should. Nothing makes sense. I don't care who's involved or who the members are. There's not a swerve that you can do that'll get me on board with this angle, and they need to just get rid of it.
Whenever they first started, I thought, here's a second chance at doing Nexus. And, maybe this time around that they'll actually get Nexus right. Because I never felt like that year Nexus was around, they got treated the way they should have. And we're, 2 months into this angle, and it's already treated worse than Nexus.
It's just absolute garbage.
Yeah.
It's absolute garbage.
I haven't watched a full episode of Raw in months.
Neither have I.
I'm talking right before Mania.
Yeah, and every time I turn it on, it's the same matchups. It's the same people. I mean, you're running Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee again this coming Monday on Raw. So, again, it's rinse and repeat with matchup-wise. There were a couple things that I liked during Raw, but not enough to get me to watch a 3-hour show. I liked Zelina Vega at the end of Mickie James and Asuka.
That cluster.
The match itself and the ending was a cluster. I believe Mickie James came out and gave some clarification on it. Whether or not you want to believe her or not, that's up to you. And I would, suggest if you haven't seen her explanation, go out and find it for yourself. But I like Zelina coming down and challenging Asuka. She's a good promo. She's a good worker. Hasn't been given the opportunity yet to show what she can do in the ring. So I believe that's a good way to go. And then, Raw Underground is what it is. But I am a little bit intrigued with Braun Strowman and Dabba-Kato at the end that's being promoted for this coming week on Raw Underground.
Okay. Yeah, all that's going to be is a real test of power between those two bruisers. I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, but
And it's the first time Strowman's been seen since SummerSlam after eating a pin from Roman.
And now he's on Raw, being on SmackDown before this.
Well, apparently the brand only thing doesn't apply to Raw Underground, so SmackDown can come in on Raw Underground because it's Raw Underground and not Raw, which
another thing that doesn't make sense.
Again, doesn't make sense, but whatever.
There's a long list of things that don't make sense in that company.
Yeah, it's just, and I feel the same way with SmackDown on Friday night. Main event segment match was strong. The Samoan street fight, no DQ match for 4 people that just had their first match last week. I don't understand the added stipulation of that, but for what it was, the match was strong. The ending of the show was good with, them continuing to have Roman evolve into this new character that he's going to be, going from smiling and happy to showing a scowl and staring Jey Uso in his back as he's walking up the ramp. Jey has no idea what's going on behind him, so he still thinks that it's all good in the hood between them two, being cousins and that. So we'll see what happens this week on the Go Home show before the pay-per-view. But that, main event-wise was done well. There's so many ups and downs, especially, SmackDown prime example. The ending segment was good. The promo segment with Sasha Banks was done amazingly. Acting-wise was unbelievable. Sasha is always at the top of her game. She's always one of my favorite performers, male or female, to watch in the ring and outside of the ring. Her and Bayley, if they slow burn this and don't rush to a match, I believe could be a feud where it could headline WrestleMania 37 next year.
That's a good prediction. I like that. I mean, this feud's been teased for how many years now? I mean, they've gone back and forth, for not months, years with this. So it deserves a WrestleMania match.
They're building NXT to their first takeover match in Brooklyn, which stole the show and catapulted NXT to even higher regard with the fans.
And the women's evolution, really.
The women's evolution. I believe these two, with the chemistry they have and the story that can be told, can absolutely main event women's singles match for WrestleMania if they decide to go that way.
Yeah. And if they would, it would be good that neither one of them were in the first women's main event at
Absolutely.
WrestleMania. So it's a fresh women's match in there.
Absolutely.
All fresh competitors. As much as I would love to see that, I just have a feel they're going to not do that, and it's either going to be thrown onto Clash of Champions next week as a match, or it's just going to maybe a push to Survivor Series.
I don't see them doing it to Clash of Champions only because Bayley attacked Sasha with the chair again. Okay. She had a neck brace on. She hit her with the chair again, put the chair on her throat again, and was getting ready to stop it until a couple people ran in and stopped her from doing that. So I don't think that they rush it to Clash of Champions. I hope not. No. If you rush that and throw it on Clash of Champions, the split and the turn and everything that they've been building for just absolutely goes away, and you've done it for nothing.
No. And like you said, if giving it that time on WrestleMania would mean that, they've invested all this time in the past few years to build to this one match. And it deserves to be the two of them. They don't need anybody else thrown in the match. It just needs to be a one-on-one. You want to add a stipulation to it, fine. If it needs to give something else to market it. But other than that, yeah. Bayley Sasha, it sells itself.
Yeah. And, jumping back over to AEW, another thing that I like this week that they did that instantly gives credibility to a new individual that just signed with AEW. Moxley and Archer.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to pick their tag team partners for a 6-man match coming this Wednesday. Weren't sure where it was going to go. They're both lone wolves and don't like being involved with other people. I like Archer and Jake coming out and asking for the help of Team Taz. You bring Cage and Ricky Starks in. Taz and Jake work out a handshake deal where once Archer beats Moxley, Cage is the first person to challenge Archer for the AEW title. So I like that. It gives a valid reason as to why those three men would team together. The attack on Moxley in the stands, playing off the crowd, trying to attack him at the pay-per-view was well done. And then you bring in Will Hobbs, who just signed, has been on Dark, had a strong outing in the Battle Royale, the All-Out Battle Royale.
He was definitely the standout.
And you align him with Moxley right away, that gives him credibility out the gate for whatever they want to do with him going forward. He's a powerhouse. He looks impressive in the ring, can move. I like him a lot. I'm interested to see where he goes. And then bringing Darby Allin in as the third person on Team Moxley just continues the feud with Cage and Ricky Starks. I believe at Full Gear you'll get a match with Starks and Allin. I think
that's going to tear the house down, I think.
Yeah. So I'm happy with how they set that up. Gave background and logic for why they're chosen and chose the people that they did. Concise, in sync storytelling that automatically gets me to where I need to be for their match this coming Wednesday.
What a concept.
Unbelievable, right?
Something that makes sense.
So you see that done. Sometimes AEW will throw matches together and it's kind of, why are they doing this? Yeah. If you don't follow Dark, you may miss some of the background story with certain matches because they do tie in some stuff from Dark into Dynamite. But 9 times out of 10 so far in this first year of existence, they've been good with giving us a reason as to why they're booking what they're booking and giving me a story to get behind.
So looking forward to this upcoming week, we have Raw and SmackDown go-home shows for Clash of Champions. AEW's on twice this week. They're going to be on Tuesday night, maybe at 10 o'clock or after the NBA game. Then Wednesday night, their normal Dynamite episode. NXT UK will be back Thursday with regular NXT on Wednesday night as well. And then Clash of the Champions next Sunday.
Yeah, another full week. One thing I did want to touch on, we brought up last week, the ROH Pure Tournament.
Yep.
I watched the first episode last week, which was 2 matches, Jay Lethal and Dalton Castle, and then Jonathan Gresham and what's the guy's name? Something Yuta. I apologize. I forgot his name there. But they laid out how they're going to do it. Both matches, both men got promo segments, which totaled almost 15 minutes of television time. Then the matches, because each round is a certain time limit. First round matches are 15 minutes. Second round matches are 20 minutes. Third round matches 25 minutes or half an hour. So it led well to fill out the hour block for the show. 15 minutes of promos, 15-minute match. Worked well. Matches, first match was good. Dalton and Jay Lethal, those two are pros. They've been in the ring together before. Good match. Gresham and Yuta, I think, went too far into the rules as far as being too pure of a match. Some of the holds and counters were kind of mind-blowing in the sense that it doesn't make sense. Yeah. You have a leg lock where your thighs are around the waist and you're literally sitting right behind the guy's shoulders and you're not going to try to put him into a rear naked choke or anything else, and like a lot of false finishes based off of counters and submissions. So it was what it was. I get where they were going with that for the story that was set up in the promo package. The rules were explained very well. They had a ticker on the bar, not a ticker, but they had a bar at the bottom of the screen for the matches where they showed each individual has 3 rope breaks they're allowed to prevent submissions or pinfalls. Once those 3 rope breaks are used up, they cannot engage the ropes to break a submission or a pinfall. So that was good as far as explaining the rules for the tournament. Each person's allowed one closed fist punch. After that, you're warned. If you do it again, you get disqualified. So it's open fist only, which if you grew up watching wrestling back in the day, the closed fist was an illegal move. You weren't allowed to use it.
You got that one warning. And
that was it. So well done as far as explaining the rules. We'll see how the rest of the tournament shakes out. But overall, good initial outing for ROH for the tournament. This first round is going to drag because I believe they're only going to do 2 matches a show.
Okay.
So there's 16 people in the tournament, 8 people on each side. So you're looking, a month just to get through the first round?
It seems like the Pure Tournament's going to be Ring of Honor's storytelling, for the next few months, maybe the rest of 2020.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so see where it goes from there. G1 gets kicked off, I believe, yesterday or today.
Yeah.
With matchups for the A block, so we'll see how that goes and who's going to come out of that. So just to touch on a couple other things from the world of wrestling this week that I saw that caught my eye.
Yeah, no, I really like the concept of the Pure Tournament. I didn't get a chance to watch the first episode, so I'm going to try to watch the first 2 this week. So yeah, really see how the format goes. But that's this week in wrestling and bell to bell. Chug, 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 chug.
This week's Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by going home by yourself, waking up the next day, and realizing you spent way more money than you should have.
This week's Drink of the Week is brought to us by Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest. This is a 6% beer, Oktoberfest style fest beer. So let's take a drink and see what we think, Steve.
All right. Good smooth taste out of the bottle. I definitely like it. Haven't had too many different, seasonal beers from Sierra Nevada. I like their regular beer. I've had that on occasion, but good smooth taste out of the bottle for sure.
Absolutely, it's actually been a couple years since I've had any Oktoberfest beer. Probably at least 2 years. My usual go-to is Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
I'm a Penn Pilsner Oktoberfest guy. That's my number one Oktoberfest I go to.
I don't know if I've had that one. I'll have to give that a try. Yeah, might have to be another Drink of the Week segment.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Sierra Nevada makes good beer. I've never had an issue with any of their stuff. It's always had good flavor to it. This one, I think you can really taste the hops. That's the main thing that I'm tasting in this. Get that little bit of floral kick to it as well.
The back label on the bottle. It says toasty malts and German hops yield notes of fresh bread and floral, fruity character of a balanced, crisp lager that makes any moment festive.
Yeah.
So your description, without reading the description, is exactly what they were going for.
I don't taste a whole lot of yeast. I'm not getting the fresh bread that they have on there, but yeah, definitely the hops. The crisp lager fits it to a T. It's light. It's not overpowering the taste buds at all.
No, not at all. And I tend to, like with pumpkin ales, I'll add some cinnamon to my Oktoberfest. This one, I'm good with drinking it without the cinnamon. I don't need the added flavor from the cinnamon. It's very flavorful. It's good. I would recommend it to anybody that's looking for an Oktoberfest that you may not have had before or ventures off from your normal Oktoberfest buying for the season as far as brands go. So I guess on a scale of 1 to 5 sumos, I'll go with 3.75.
Okay. I like that. I think just its ease of drinking it, I feel like at 6%, if you had a couple of these, it's not going to ruin your night. Definitely kind of what we were talking last week, with football season, fall day, I think it's something to sit back and enjoy.
Nice beer to have around a fire pit at night.
Yeah,
fall
definitely.
Season.
I'm going to go with 3.5 sumos. So.
All right, so there you go. 3.75 for myself and 3.5 for Chris. And as usual, with the Drink of the Week segment, we ask that you pick up your glasses, your bottles, your cans, your shots, whatever you're toasting with us this week. And here we go. To good ships, to wood ships, and ships that sail the seas. But the best ships are friendships. Friends will always be. Toast. All right, this week in sports, folks, kicked off with what was to be expected, but a Steelers win on Monday Night Football. So anybody that lives in Pittsburgh knows that when the Steelers win, the following week is going to be a good week. Not only, hey, gotta be. Hey, speaking of Yinzers, the Steelers won, and that means that Pittsburgh Dad gave a nice new episode for the first game of the season. I highly suggest if you guys want a good laugh and really truly get an essence of what being a Yinzer really is, and a Pittsburghese Pittsburgher, check out Pittsburgh Dad on YouTube and Instagram, and he will definitely give you a true understanding on what it means to be a Yinzer.
How'd you feel Ben looked this week?
Ben looked good. Started off rusty out the gate, which was to be expected. Hadn't thrown a ball or hadn't played in a game for 364 days. So knocked off the rust in the first half. I was a little nervous there going into halftime with him throwing already 21 times in the game, coming off a surgically repaired arm. I don't know that you want your quarterback in his first game back if they were to keep the same game script in the second half, throwing 42 times his first game out after coming off an elbow surgery. So I'm
glad.
How long
has he been out for?
A year.
A full year?
A year, yeah. He went down in I believe the third game of the season last year.
Okay.
Or second game of the season against the Seahawks, home game. Yeah, so it's been a year.
It's a good amount of time to rehab and...
Yeah, I mean, normally we see that injury in baseball.
Yeah.
It's not really a football injury that you see. He said he felt great. He said it's the first time in years he doesn't feel arm pain.
Okay. That's good.
Tuesday he said that his body was sore, being knocked around again in football, but his arm didn't hurt. So that's a good thing, going forward for Steeler fans. Yeah. His arm still felt good, no pain after that. We'll see what happens. They have a game with the Broncos this weekend that I don't know how to feel going into it, given the injuries that they came out of Monday night's game with. They have some O-line injuries that could hurt them. They lost Zach Manor for the year, their right tackle. Stefan Wisniewski, hometown kid, coming back playing for the Steelers. He's out with a torn pec, was on IR, so you got some moving pieces on the O-line, which was already banged up. The Castro's still out. So we'll see how that right side of the O-line protects Ben this week. James Conner with an ankle injury may play, may not play. We'll see. Benny Snell looked good in his absence. I'm hoping James Conner plays because I'm going against Benny Snell in my fantasy league this week, so try to keep the points down on that end of the thing.
How's the fantasy team been doing?
1-0, $150 first week out the gate, highest point total in the league. Thursday night, we made the right move in putting Kareem Hunt in the starting lineup in our flex, so he got me 23 points in the Browns-Bengals game. So it's always good going into the weekend when your Thursday night players perform like they're supposed to. So we'll see what happens there. So big slate of games for football on Sunday. NFL season's back in the fold. It actually feels like football season is here.
It does, yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Week one didn't really feel like football's back. But now, after watching the games, I'm excited, ready for football on Sundays. We have college games going on today. Hometown-wise, Pitt and Syracuse are playing right now as we record. So we'll see what happens with that. Pitt's actually ranked.
Yeah.
They're ranked 25th right now. I don't know if that's just because the Big Ten isn't playing yet. Although they're coming back. So news this week broke, the Big Ten re-voted, and they're going to play this season. I believe they're going to start up in October, which will allow them to be eligible for the college football playoff at the end of the year. Here's a question for you. College football playoffs, 4 teams, right?
Yeah.
So this year, with everything going on with COVID, schedules not all being the same, teams aren't going to play the full game schedule, right? What if just for this year you give a one-time exemption and change it to an 18 playoff? And when I say 18 playoff,
I like where you're going.
Okay, Now this is without the Pac-10 coming back. We still don't know yet if they're going to come back, right? The West Coast has a lot to deal with going on with the fires and everything else, and they do things a little bit differently out on the West Coast than the East Coast. Especially in the Rust Belt here, we're playing football. It doesn't matter. I don't care what's going on. But if you have the conference winners, okay, and this is just me spitballing here, right? Conference winners get a bid. Then you can have an at-large team, 2 at-large teams, 3 at-large teams. Or you don't even go that route. You just keep the voting as it's been, but instead of voting in 4 teams, you vote in 8 teams. And the reason why I bring this up is because for the longest time it was, well, the kids can't play during finals week, and they're student athletes, and student comes before athlete. We all know that's a crock of shit. Okay, it's not student athletes. Yeah. It's athletes. It's exploiting amateurism for professionalism.
Yeah.
Okay, with the billions of dollars that goes on and the money that's exchanged from these games. So why not, in a year where everything's screwed up, everything's different, right? You expand the playoff because, typically if you lose a game, you're out, which makes college football so exciting, right?
Yeah.
You may be able to get back into it depending on who loses or when you lose in the season. But now, with COVID and everything going on, these later starts, you may have an Ohio State that loses a game, and that automatically kicks them out. When really, if you played out the full season in regular times, they would finish in the top 4. So why not expand the playoff just for this year? You're already playing games through the middle of December, so that whole we can't have athletes play during finals gets kicked out the window as an excuse. Let's roll the dice, have an expanded playoff just for this year. It'll lead to a more exciting postseason, and we can actually say the 2020 college national champion earned their national championship and doesn't necessarily have an asterisk next to it.
No. I like where you're going with that. I think that this is the perfect year to give something a try. With everything just up in the air, try something different.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I know the counter argument to that point is, well, once you do it, the door's open. Why would you go back after opening that door? But hey, everybody else is changing up the way they've done things.
Yeah.
The NBA's gone into a bubble, and instead of just having a 16-team playoff, they had 24 teams. NHL, they had their playoffs. It's different. It's different times. Things are different. You have to be able to adjust and adapt. And I think what the fair thing to do would be to give more teams a chance at the national championship this year by expanding the playoff.
I like it. I mean, to go again, kind of expand upon your argument, you said, why open up that door? I mean, the NBA is doing a bubble. Yeah, they open up the door to do the bubble. They're not going to continue that bubble once they can let fans back in, though. So it's just doing something different to do something different this year to make it more exciting, to get fans more excited for the playoffs or whatever, the bowl games, yada yada yada. If it's something interesting to do, I say do it.
Right, absolutely. So football's back in full swing. That's good. NBA, we're into the Western and Eastern Conference playoffs this week. The Miami Heat are up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics. Some people are already calling that series over and have the Heat going to the NBA Finals. I wouldn't necessarily say it's over. Both games have been good games to watch, highly contested games. Game 1 ended with probably the biggest block in playoff history with Bam Adebayo blocking Jason Tatum there on a dunk at the end of regulation. Miami wins that, or in overtime. They hold on for the win in Game 2. Last night, the Lakers and the Nuggets got underway. The Nuggets are coming off of 2 series where they've come back from 3-1. They've played 2 7-game series. They've expended a lot of energy. Yes, you don't have travel in the back and forth in plane rides and whatnot. But to me, watching that game last night and the Lakers won in a blowout, They just don't match up well with LA. LA is too big. I believe the Lakers got a big boost from Dwight Howard last night. Points-wise may not be what you consider big boost, but the defense, the energy, the impact he made, he wasn't able to play last series against the Rockets because the Rockets play small ball. I just believe the Nuggets can't match up with the Lakers. The Joker got in foul trouble early. He sat out most of the second quarter. It's just a bad matchup for the Nuggets, and the playoffs are all about matchups. That's why I feel, the Lakers will probably win this in a sweep, maybe 5 games. And then on the East, Miami's up 2-0. We'll see what happens there. I don't think they'll sweep the Celtics. Celtics are too talented.
I wouldn't count Boston out yet.
I wouldn't either. Not saying they'll come back from this down 2-0, but we'll see how it plays out. So that's the NBA. NHL, Stanley Cup's getting ready to get underway. Today's game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yep.
You have Tampa Bay going against Dallas. Tampa Bay beat an Islanders team there in the Eastern Conference Finals. Dallas has been sitting since their Western Conference Finals ended early. So we'll see what happens with the NHL and who ends up hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup at the end of it.
I'm going Tampa. What are you thinking?
Tampa's a better team than Dallas. Dallas, for some reason in this playoffs, it's like, how do you still continue to win?
Yeah.
They've been overmatched, they've been outplayed, but yet here they are in the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll see. I like Tampa Bay. If I had to call it, I'd say Tampa Bay we'll go 5.
I'm thinking 6.
So yeah, I'll be surprised if it goes 7.
Yeah, me too.
But you never know. I mean, it's 2020. Times are crazy. So
anything can happen.
Anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. Major League Baseball, we talked last week about them going into a bubble. Mm-hmm. They did announce that they will be doing a bubble setting for their playoffs and World Series. World Series will be played in Arlington, Texas. I believe the National League playoffs will be held in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium for the playoffs, and then I want to say the American League is going to stick to Arlington, Texas, but I could be wrong on that. I have to go back and double check. But the big thing with that is it's a bubble. It was their moneymaker, as we talked about last week. They needed to do it. They can transition over easily to the bubble. Mm-hmm. You can have those teams that make the playoffs go to the bubbles and actually get a World Series played without having to worry about the Rona coming in and ruining things.
Yeah. I mean, as long as their players don't go out for milk again.
Yeah, well, that's the next big thing. Other than that, this week, the U.S. Open is being played. Tiger missed the cut. He was 10 over yesterday at the end of his round. So, no Tiger Red this week on Sunday for the U.S. Open. We'll see who comes out and wins that. And then UFC, we got is it a pay-per-view or just a fight night on tonight?
Fight night tonight, pay-per-view next weekend.
Okay, all right. So that'll get your MMA fixing for the week here. Gotta give Dana White some credit. Back when COVID first started and everything got shut down, he was the first one to say, "Hey, I'm still putting on shows."
Yeah.
And people, he was going to do it in Florida and then backtracked, and in Vegas and then backtracked. So what did he do? I'm going to go over to Abu Dhabi and open up Fight Island and put on shows there.
He tried to buy like an actual island.
He did try. He did try to buy an actual island. Ended up doing it in Abu Dhabi. Was over there for a month.
Yeah.
So
they're still going back and forth, but a lot of the stuff back in Vegas now.
Yeah, back in Vegas at the UFC center, kind of like the performance center for WWE, where they have it's a smaller cage, but the fights that I've watched, I've been highly entertained by it.
Yeah.
Granted, UFC may not be what it once was back in the day, at its peak, but Dana White has done a good job throughout this of putting on good matchups. exciting fighters, exciting fights. And the fight night tonight, I'll tune in for sure. Flicking back and forth between, college football and whatever else is on tonight. And then next week for the pay-per-view looks to be a good show.
Yeah, it seems like due to COVID, a lot of times, like I looked up the pay-per-view card last week and there wasn't even a title match announced yet. And since then, they've now announced, the main event will be a title match for, I believe, the middleweight belt. So due to COVID, they're not announcing the cards as far out as they would normally do for these events. But, I do agree. I think he's been trying to put on the best cards that he can during COVID and, maintaining, just like WWE and any other major league sport right now, it's just trying to maintain a sense of normalcy within their division. Since we're talking about UFC, I bring up a question for you. Because I think one of my big issues with UFC that I don't follow it as much anymore as I used to whenever it was even more popular than what it is now, is it seems like there's events every week now. And it kind of feels like they're oversaturating the market, much like WWE has the past few years. And I think that they need that, to become legitimate. But is it too much?
So here's the deal with that. When Dana White and the UFC signed their deal with ESPN, be on ESPN, ESPN Plus for the pay-per-views and that, he has to put on X number of shows per year. Okay? When COVID hit and everything got shut down, they went how long without running an actual event?
Mm-hmm.
When they were able to start back up, he still has to fulfill that number of events for the year, which is why you see an event every Saturday or Saturday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's rare that you'll go a couple weeks without seeing a UFC event, but it's only because he has to put on X number of shows per year under the deal with ESPN. So is it oversight? Initially, whenever the other sports weren't going on, yes, because UFC was the only thing on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching everything, whether it was a Wednesday night or Saturday night. Now with everything back, are they still getting the same amount of people tuning in? I don't know. I haven't paid attention to the ratings for ESPN fight nights or pay-per-views.
It's for I've ever looked at.
Yeah. If it was normal circumstances and normal times, I don't think you would feel that it's being overdone with events and shows. I think it would kind of be like one a month, like WWE pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't see this 3-4 shows a month like you're getting now since they started back up.
Yeah. I'd like to get back to that point of maybe every other week, have a fight night and one pay-per-view a month. Because I felt like that was the reason why you watched UFC. It was once a month you had pay-per-view. Right. And then a couple, the Ultimate Fighter took a break.
Right.
But certain months out of the year you had Ultimate Fighter every week and a pay-per-view here and there. Then, at the time there was also WEC that had an event, every few months on Versus at the time. But, I think right now, for me, it's just too oversaturated. But, especially since I have ESPN Plus, I'm trying to get back into UFC more.
Right.
Because there's a lot of fighters that I don't know. A lot of young fighters that I feel like I could start following more and more and follow their career better.
Well, and as we're recording here, got breaking news coming across the wire in sports. Mike Norvell, who's the coach for the Florida State Seminoles, announced that he has tested positive for coronavirus.
Interesting.
And is isolating from the team. Norvell said that, Norvell said that my result was surprising to me, but we have prepared for a potential positive result among anyone in our program, and we will put that plan in place while I am away. I will remain involved remotely as much as possible to help our team continue to prepare. I'm grateful to the administration, players, and staff for their commitment to the protocols we have in place. which have helped us limit contact with others and allowed us to continue moving forward. So here's the big elephant in the room. What will happen when somebody in NFL or college football comes down with coronavirus, right? We saw MLB, the Marlins have had it. They've been dealing with it. In the beginning, Major League Baseball, it was like, will they shut down for the season? Is it over? Who knows? And they said, nope, screw it. We're putting the foot to the pedal, and we're just going to keep moving along. Doesn't matter. We'll cancel games. We'll reschedule the games. It is what it is. This, to my knowledge, is the first positive test for somebody in college football since they've been back.
Okay.
And Florida State lost last week to Georgia Tech. I'm a Florida State Seminoles fan. That's depressing to me that you lose to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets after being up 10-0. It's ridiculous. But we'll see what happens. Does not say if any of the other players have tested positive. He is isolated and quarantining from the team.
Okay.
They were supposed to. They're off this week, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
They're supposed to play Miami next Saturday, so we will see what happens. On ESPN, it does state that Norvell will not travel to Miami, and that the game against Miami remains on as scheduled as of right now. So.
We'll have to wait and see if any players get tested as well.
Yeah, wait and see on that. We'll see how that comes about during the week. But interesting to see what goes on now, since we knew it was going to happen, right?
Yeah,
you're not going to go through the college football season or the NFL season without having somebody test positive for this disease. It's just not going to happen.
I think this is the best, scenario for the, right now, because it's a coach.
It's a head coach, so how bad does that hurt, right?
With technology these days, I don't think it's going to hurt that much. It depends on his symptoms too. If he's just tested with no symptoms, he's going to be quarantined, but he can almost go on business as usual. Kind of be quarantined in maybe a home office, and they can have a TV monitor or whatever set up for him, and he can continue doing what he normally does, just not in person.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how long, we'll see what the ramifications are. Hopefully it's just him and nobody from the team has contracted it player-wise and that. Again, they're off this week, and he is quarantining himself. So that is a plus. Best place scenario for that. We'll see what happens here, and keep an eye out for that going forward. Like I said, be interesting to see if we'll be able to get a full season played. Not being in a bubble, there was a fan that tested positive that went to the Thursday night game for the Chiefs and Texans.
Okay.
The Chiefs came out in a statement and said that through, ticket scan and seating and everything else, they were able to contact trace back and notify anybody that was sitting in around that area, even though everybody was socially distanced during the game. So it does seem that both leagues have plans and protocols and everything put in place. So we'll see how it plays out. But it's definitely going to be interesting to keep an eye on going forward, how and when people test positive and what effect that has on teams and leagues moving forward for this year's football season.
Yeah, I don't see this being the last time we talk about it.
No, not at all. So with that, folks, this has been This Week in Sports.
All right, boys and girls, we're going to wrap things up this week with episode 3 of the Dumb podcast. You know where you found us to listen this week, but as a reminder, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify, Simplecast, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Deezer, Pocket Cast, Player FM, and TuneIn Podcasts. And as always, like us on Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All right, Steve, why don't you take us home?
Yeah, and in addition to that, be on the lookout in the next coming weeks. We will have a Dumb Marks email that will be listed on all of our social media sites in the upcoming weeks. That way you can send us emails, questions, comments, give us love and praise or hate, whatever you want to do. We're open to it all. And with that, words of wisdom to end your week by is Character counts just as much as credentials. Who you are is just as important as what you know. And with that, you can catch us around the way till the next time.